And are you refreshed? Good. Now what is it you are wanting to talk about? More things. Right here.
Hello, Abraham. It is truly a delight to be able to speak to you again. I would like your guidance on a challenge that has arisen in a sport that I'm actively and competitively involved in. That's riding and show jumping horses. And it is my absolute passion. I love it with my whole heart. It requires focus and balance and timing and precision and physical fitness.
And harmony with the horse.
And harmony with the horse. That's a big one. What I'm finding is that when I participated in this, and I as a rule don't give any credence to age, but it seems to be popping up for me. And when I did it when I was in my 20s and 30s, I had the courage and the determination, whether it was in a ring or cross country, I was right there and bold and had everything I needed to achieve and excel in what I did. Now it's 20 to 30 years later, and I am picking up the same stick, and I am re-entering this arena physically and emotionally. And although I find I still have the fitness and the timing and the balance, what seems to be lacking is the courage. When I'm approaching these large obstacles, fear is coming up in a really big way, and it seems to be getting in the way of my being able to achieve the goal that I want, which is the confidence that I can excel in this again, even though it's much, much later in my life.
Well, what is fear? Is fear something that you should overcome, or is it something that you should pay attention to? What is fear? In any moment of fear, what is it?
It's a feeling of out of control.
But what is the emotion of fear? What does it mean? It means the vibration of my current perspective and the vibration of my desire are not a match.
Right.
So now, for just a moment, compare what you said you lived earlier, because you said it all feels the same except for this one thing.
That's right.
And I don't remember feeling that fear then. So does that mean that things were different then and there was less to fear? Or does it mean over time your vibration, the crack, excuse us,
That's fine.
is wider now between what you want and where you think you are?
It feels like the crack is wider. I notice it's like in the moment, I can't seem to get out of my own way. All the dynamic is the same, but then these thoughts start entering in, what's going to happen when I get to that fence if I'm not in the right place, and I could get hurt, and this could happen, and that could happen, and it gets in my way.
Well, here's the thing that we would recommend. We don't recommend that you move forward in the face of fear, because when you're feeling fear, it means energy isn't aligned. And when you take action in the midst of misaligned energy, then that's always when something happens. In other words, your fear is an indication that things aren't lined up. So don't take the jump if things aren't lined up. But don't wait till you're approaching it to line it up. And
I think that's what I do.
And don't say, well, the last 10 jumps, not lined up, not lined up, not lined up, not lined up. Maybe this one will be different. It's not going to be. In other words, you need to do some mental work. Jerry talks about how many years ago, when he was an actor for a short period of time, and he was doing a Western, and he was riding a horse and delivering lines, and they gave him a horse that Jerry could feel he did not have any control over this horse. The horse was skittish. So Jerry said, I would like a different horse. And the wrangler gave him a bad time, said, oh, you're afraid of that horse. And Jerry said, it's not so much that I'm afraid of it as I think it would be a problem to the filming. And so they gave him a different horse. But this very antagonistic wrangler jumped up on that horse in defiance to show Jerry that he should not be afraid of that horse. And the horse reared its head up and knocked all of his teeth out. And our response to that was, this man had overcome his fear. In other words, he was so determined that no matter what, he was going to follow his general pattern, no matter what, that he had completely factored out any sensation of energy alignment. Now, if he had been sensitive, he would have realized that he could not get into alignment on that horse either. And so we're not for a moment suggesting that you should overcome your fear. We want you to understand your fear and to work through it in a vibrational way. In other words, what we would do is we would get into some mental imagery of some jumps. We would remember our favorite jumps on our favorite horses. We would remember our favorite competitions. We would remember the most beautiful jumps that we saw others do. We would try to remember the jumps as what it feels like when you're on the horse. We would just fill our mind full of those kinds of thoughts until you get back into the vibration of that. Now, we think it's interesting. You pinpointed precisely what we can feel is at the vibrational root of this discord. And it is age. And it was the first thing out of your mouth as you sat down here. And it doesn't help you for us to say it is irrelevant. In other words, it really is the strength of the horse that matters most in these cases, and the communication between the rider and the horse. Yes. And so it would not matter what age you are if you are in vibrational command of what's going on here. And these are the things that you're wanting to talk to yourself about. Yes. Jerry and Esther, when they got on board the ship, because they boarded early, they asked to keep their driver's licenses, and in exchange they gave them some clips to wear. And as Jerry and Esther walked away from their driver's licenses, Esther could almost not drag herself away from them because she knows that her birth date is on it.
I do the same thing.
And even worse, she knows that Jerry's birth date is on his.
I lied.
And while Esther does not care how old she is, and Esther does not care how old Jerry is, Esther cares how old you think they are.
That's right.
Because Esther does not want anyone assigning any diminishment in clarity, in physical well-being, or in longevity to them based upon something as erroneous and unimportant as age.
That's right.
So this is what you have to work on, especially when you are in this competitive sport. In other words, they put you in the old-timers category, or they put you in the new-timers category, or they call you one of the old girls, or when they call you one of the young girls. In other words, there's all these labels. And if there was ever a reason for anyone to disassociate with what anybody else thinks about anything, this is certainly anytime you're doing anything that is competitive. That's the most interesting things about things of a competitive nature, whether it's the competition of wanting your book to be #1 on Amazon, or whether it's the competition of wanting to win this particular race. We want you to understand that if you can find a way to leave the other competitors out of the equation, and you will compete only with yourself. That's which excellent. Means that only the competition that you're wanting to deal with is the competition between this vibration, this vibrational point of relativity, and this vibrational point of relativity. And when you see yourself with the strength and clarity and precision and willingness and agility and ability that your inner being sees you, you'll be in alignment, and you will be then in vibrational alignment with your horse. In other words, your horse comes into alignment much more easily. We do not feel that it is anything to do with your horse. Okay. Is this the horse you've been competing on for a while?
No, he's kind of a youngster, and I've had some issues. Actually spoke to you on the Alaska cruise about what happened with him, and I'm laughing only because he seems to be a horse that has more attitude than any horse I have ever ridden. He is very unhappy with this sport that I'm asking him to do. He grunts over every fence. He's just not a happy camper, and I'm wondering.
And you're worried about your age?
Good point. He's not even 4. So I don't know about the match here, and he doesn't seem very happy about his work.
Well, then he's the wrong horse.
I agree.
In other words,
now.
and we think you know that, and we
Yeah.
think that's why you're
Yeah.
afraid. In other words,
I never thought of that.
You get up there, and you can't count on him to do what
No,
you've
I
trained him to
can't.
do,
You're
because
right.
he's going to maybe do what he'd rather do,
This
and what
is-
he'd rather do and what you want him to do are two very different things, and
Thank
we're
you.
on his side.
Thank you. I actually agree with you at this point. It's like,
Good, because
Thank
we're
you.
always right.
I know you are.